Okay, so I was making the fire, and right,
Yeah, and then
and I was like, man, right. Okay, so come over here, right. I'm making the fire, and I'm trying to get it going so that we can, cook dinner and stuff.
Yeah, and then
No, stop. Let me. You'll get your. Okay. So I'm sitting here trying to get it, and I was like, man, I need a stir stick. And I yelled at the girl. Okay, Twyla, you can tell this part, right? So I yelled, oh, hey, one of you girls, I need a stir stick.
And I keep saying no.
So she came out. She thought I was talking about.
Well,
a spoon stir stick.
Yeah.
So she went into the bin and she was going to try and get one out. And I was like, no, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then I explained to her what kind of a stir stick I meant, right? Well, so I'm like, I don't know, right? And I'm sitting here and I'm kind of looking around, and I was like, oh Lord, I need a stir stick.
And then
I was like, please help me find a stir stick, right?
And then
so I got dinner going, right? We did dinner, everything was fine, whatever. I was sitting down in the chair, and I'm eating, and I look up from where I was sitting, right? I look up, and this perfect stir stick, okay, was like just sitting right here, like that. Just sitting right there, just like that. Like I totally didn't see it before. Just sitting here. Perfect for me to have for my stir stick fire for this weekend. I am so excited. Thank you, Lord, for providing this perfect, amazing stir stick.
And then my mom started.
Okay, one of the things that we are going to do this summer is to practice silence, self-reflection, and emotional control. But really, the main goal is for the girls to begin learning to hear the voice of God. So now I have 2 different books here that we're going to read from. They have several different chapters in each of them. So should we read one chapter out of each book, or should we just start off with one? Just one? Okay. Well, which one do you girls want to start off with? The girls wanted to read the Chickbook book, Parables from Nature. All right, are you ready? Nutty About Nuts is the title. Bushy Squirrel learned his lesson the hard way. Ooh, I like this already. What do I always say about the hard way? If you take the hard way out now, your life will get easier. But if you take the easy way out now, your life will get harder. All right, I like this. Now, he doesn't have any nuts at all. Spider! Now, he doesn't have any nuts at all, unless perhaps he may be able to borrow a few from somewhere to take care of him throughout the rest of the winter. But who would want to loan nuts to Bushy, since he was so selfish about his own supply? And who would have thought of all the squirrels in the world that Bushy would ever run short of nuts? There was a time when he had more than any other squirrel in the forest. I do not know when Bushy started being selfish. Probably it was when he was quite little. At any rate, by the time he was grown, he was just nutty about nuts. Of course, it was quite all right for him to store up a supply for the winter. All the squirrels did that. But Bushy stored up 3 or 4 times as many as he needed for himself. Yet never would he give any to the animal chest, the Red Cross, or the Squirrel Scouts. Or, if he did, it would only be a few small ones that were partially spoiled. Ew, that's not cool. Bushy was what some squirrels called a loan shark. That is, he would loan nuts out at a very high rate of interest, 20 to a customer, to be paid back next year, with 10 extra as interest. So his supply grew and grew from year to year, until he just didn't have any room for all of his nuts. Every hollow place in his tree was crammed full, and still he wasn't satisfied. You know, that's kind of the thing about selfishness. It's never satisfied. You just always want more and more and more. It's an endless void. Selfishness is an endless void. It's a vacuum. All right, next year, I must find a bigger tree in which to store my nuts, he said to himself. And so he did. A great hickory tree down beside the lake. Bushy found the big hollow place inside by walking right through the door, which Mr. and Mrs. Woody Woodpecker had drilled in the tree. They were out gathering straw to build their nest at the time. Ooh, he's just going to steal it from him. That's not okay. When they returned, Bushy had taken over. Not only did he drive out the woodpeckers from the inside, but he claimed the outside as well. He would not allow any other squirrels to gather nuts from his tree, and even became angry at the birds who only wanted to sit in the cool shade of the branches and sing. Ooh, not cool. You might shake down some of the nuts, he barked, and drove them away. So, by the time winter came, Bushy had his big tree crammed full of nuts, many, many more than he needed. Take it easy, he said to himself, when the wind began to howl and the snow to fall. Take it easy, Bushy, and enjoy yourself. You have enough nuts laid up for several winters. Other squirrels may be hungry and cold, but not you. So he curled himself up on his big pile of nuts and went to sleep. Thus, he did not know that the wind was blowing stronger and harder, and it never occurred to him that the trunk of his big hickory tree was quite weak because of the great hollow place where his nuts were stored. He was dreaming peacefully about collecting more nuts next year when suddenly he was wakened by the harsh sound of breaking wood and the feeling that he was falling. The next moment, there was a terrific splash as Bushy, inside his tree, landed in the lake. The water came rushing in through the door, and the nuts began pouring out at the same time. Well, that's about all, except it was Squirrel Scout that rescued Bushy from the lake. It was a Red Cross ambulance that rushed him to the hospital, and the ward to which he was taken was provided by the animal chest. As I said at the beginning, maybe Bushy will be able to borrow enough nuts to keep him alive through the rest of the winter. But unless he remembers never, never to be selfish and greedy again, and instead to be helpful and kind by sharing with others, it might have been better if the Squirrel Scout had left him and all of his nuts at the bottom of the lake. The story of a rich man who was very foolish. Luke chapter 12, 13 through 21. One day, Jesus was teaching a great crowd of people who had come together to hear him. After he had finished, a man came up to him and said, "Teacher, tell my brother to divide with me the property which our father left us." But Jesus refused to be drawn into their selfish quarrel. "Oh no! Attack of the June bugs! Ah! Ugh. Okay. I am not a judge or a divider of property," he said. After the man had gone his way, Jesus turned to his disciples, who had heard the conversation, and said, "Watch yourselves and stay away from selfishness." What are we supposed to stay away from? Selfishness, said both of the girls. And what is selfishness? Talia said, being rude. Well, selfishness is demanding your own way, right? Wanting what you want and not being willing to share. For life is not measured by how much a man has. What does that mean? So you can't measure a man or the value of his life by how much stuff someone has, right? Because like Bushy, the squirrel, he had a whole tree of nuts. But what benefit was that to him when all his nuts were lost And now he doesn't have anyone to help him because he was being selfish and mean, pushing others away from him. That's what selfishness does. It ruins your relationships. Then, to illustrate his meaning, he told them this story. The land of a certain wealthy man was very rich and brought forth such a large harvest that the man said, "What will I do? I do not have enough room to store these crops." It did not occur to him to give some to the poor, right? He's got so much that he doesn't even have room to store it. What do you think he decides to do instead? Twyla said he gives all the nuts to the squirrels. What do you think he'll do? Talia said throw them away. Well, let's find out. Nor did he thank God for his good fortune. Instead, he said to himself, "This I will do. I will tear down my old barns and build bigger ones, and then I will have room for my grain and my goods. And I will say to my soul, your soul is your mind, what you think, your will, what you choose to do, and your emotions, how you feel. So you have plenty of goods stored up for many years. Take it easy, eat, drink, and have a good time." But God was much displeased because the man was thinking only of himself. And God said to him, "You are a foolish man." What does it mean to be foolish? Twyla says to be mean, not wise. Talia agreed, not wise. Foolishness makes you do things that bring harm upon yourself and others around you. Tonight, your life comes to its end. After you are gone, whose will these things be that you call yours? By this story, Jesus was teaching that in the sight of God, true wealth consists not in what a man gets, but in what he gives. Okay, let's turn off these lights and be done.